I was in 2 years back. I was in London, and I went to a bank, a Jewish bank. I would like to ask a question: why did Jewish bank open Islamic counters? Because they see this to be more secure. They see it to be more profitable. What is their interest in Islamic bank? What is the Islamic that Jewish are doing? I don't understand why. However, coming to that, let me say what are the problems. Dr. Saab is here. Our accounting system is most weak. In the most of the countries where Islamic banking are there. Our tax system is so high, 55% to 60% corporate tax, direct and indirect. How many of our balance sheets are true? I as a chartered accountant, I've seen many balance sheets, and how Islamic bank can trust this balance sheet? Again the question comes. This is a defense Islamic bank. Therefore what they do, Mustarika or whatever, I would like to ask all the friends here, how many clients were given loan for 10 years or 20 years? And my answer, Dr. Saab can throw light on that. Why? I was and Jangir Siddiqui were together speaking. And we used to give 20 years and 15 years loan. Who is giving the long-term loan today? The question has been asked by all the friends that we need economic prosperity. Yes, we do need economic prosperity. Economic prosperity will only come when we have to see long-term. If you are only going to see short-term, how many banks, conventional or Islamic, are giving long-term loans? Of course, if I am wrong, I am sorry, I can be corrected for that. But you know the real concept. And now again, I had a meeting that came to me, Dr. Zakir Hussain. So he said, if an Islamic bank pays 2% less to you, Prophet, please give money to him. One person stood up. He said, yes, I am willing to suffer. But what you are offering me against that? Because the reason is this, the markup rate of Islamic bank deposit rate is generally lower than the conventional. I don't understand the reason. Of course there will be reason for that. Number two, as a Muslim, I will never support riba. Or nobody can support riba. But let me ask you, if I am asked to sign a paper where I am bank forecast my profit, which are not real profit, right or wrong, is it the Islamic banking? I had a full paper of Islamic banking after listening to my friend who are more knowledgeable than me, and the gentleman coming after me, Dr. Ishrat Hussain, is 100% guru on the line. I am not commenting on that part. But my question still stands. And this question stands with everybody in the world. Malaysia. A big example is given of Malaysia. I have been to Malaysia for the last 50 years. I have seen their banking system growing. But I have not seen their banking sector growing mostly in corporate sector. It is mostly growing in the retail sector. And of course, the poor man is more Islamic than me, let me tell you. He knows more about Islam than me because he has the time to do so. So many retailers go for the Islamic banking. I was left up with due apology of what I said. I think I wanted to speak on the line. But still I believe, and it's my honest belief, Islamic banking is answer to the future, provided we make it through Islamic. Thank you very much.
The conference during the next 2 days would take it seriously to address these questions, because these are not his questions, but I heard this from many others throughout the country where I travel a lot. So we owe it to him and to the others who have skepticism about Islamic finance as to how this can be actually a true model of what our religion and the Sharia scholars want it to be. I would also like to commend the IOBN for organizing this conference at a very critical juncture when we have to embark upon a journey towards a full-fledged Islamic banking system by January 28. I find a lot of complacency and self-congratulations that we will be able to cross this hurdle. Let me be very frank, and let me allow me to be candid, as the purpose of my talk is to give a wake-up call. It is quite easy for judiciary and the legislature to have given the directives and the declaration, which is the easiest part, that by this time you shift to the whole banking system, transfer into Islamic system. That's the easiest part. The most difficult part is how this transition takes place, and that lies in the executive branch, the industry players, and the society at large. If adequate preparations are not made, and the behavior and mindset are not altered, I'm afraid the new system will become formally compliant, but in my view, it will substantively miss the spirit behind this conversion. I am afraid that only the State Bank and the Ministry of Finance are taking the lead in this effort, and I congratulate them. They have formed various working groups on the various aspects, and the work is going on. But the remaining ministries, the provincial governments, and the implementing agencies are not sharing the same commitment and the same passion towards Islamic conversion. And if I'm not right, please make me, aware of this, because I go and talk to everybody. But it seems to be a silo approach where the whole effort is the Ministry of Finance and the State Bank of Pakistan. What has the executive got to do? And I will touch on some points that Mr. Rashid Jan Mohammed has raised. The present legal system, the laws, the precedents, the training of lawyers and judges are historically and heavily tilted towards the common law inherited by the British. Contract enforcement and dispute resolution mechanisms are lengthy, cumbersome, and very costly, with almost access denied to the poor. And Islamic finance system can take credit only if every segment of the population, rich or the poor, can get justice in a fair and inexpensive manner. I'm not sure that our legal system and the courts and the lawyers are really ready for that. We have multiple layers and too many appellates. When I went to Swat after the Taliban or somebody like Mufti Maulana, what was his name? Saki Muhammad had taken over. And the people told me that we were supporting him because under the Swat Wali system, The Qazi used to take decisions in 3 or 4 days, which were quick and very fair. And that's why we supported Mufti Maulana Saab in order to establish that system. So the judicial legal system has to be completely changed from what it is today. Second, and this is what Mr. Bashir Jan Muhammad said, and I agree with him, the present tax system is highly arbitrary, regressive, discretionary, and penalizes honest and compliant taxpayers. Evasion, cheating, falsification of records, fake receipts and invoices, over-invoicing, under-invoicing, misdeclaration of value are the outcomes of the present taxation system. Do we foresee any drastic change in this present system where equitable, fair, and progressive taxation is enacted and going to be practiced? I do not see any evidence at present to convince me that we are moving in that direction where the taxation system is going to be compatible with Islamic financial system. Third, the regulatory burden, and I'm not referring, everybody refers to the state bank, but the regulatory burden on the businesses and the arbitrary discretionary powers exercised by the officials, the petty officials of labor, health, environment, drug inspectors, building control inspectors, sub-registrars, has created an ecosystem where bargaining to the mutual advantage of the regulator and the business takes place as a routine. A poor man cannot have access to any regulatory agency because he doesn't have the connections or he has no capacity to bribe the officials. Regulations are violated and consumers suffer because of that. Have we thought whether the present conduct of the regulatory officers would facilitate conduct of transparent, honest transactions, which is the cornerstone of Islamic finance? Now coming to the society, and this is a tall agenda. We are all Muslims and we believe in life hereafter where we would be accountable for our deeds. If the fear of Allah Almighty has not deterred us from indulging in all malpractices, we sell adulterated food, we produce spurious drugs, we weigh short, we use substandard material for our buildings, we swear to deliver goods in time but never do that, we commit to make payments for goods and services but keep on dealing and dallying and at times misappropriate that amount. How do we expect them to change their behavior in the next 3 years just because we have switched to the Islamic financial system? You very well know that the base trust is the basis of risk-sharing in Islamic mode of finance. If our borrowers maintain 3 sets of books, one for themselves, the second for the tax collectors, and the third for their partners and investors, don't you think that Islamic banking would be faced soon with non-performing loans, erosion of capital, and finally bankruptcy? Do we envisage that under the new Islamic system, we will continue to depend only on murabaha, which is a cost-plus financing? Would this dominant mode allow us to reach to the pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid, the poorest of the poor? In the remote areas of Pakistan, 40% of the population is below the poverty line. And my test is whether the Islamic financial system is going to reduce the incidence of poverty in next 10 years from 40% to 20%. That is the test. If they are not going to do this, I don't think the Islamic financial system is achieving the purpose for which it is being installed. We do not have either assets or commodities, these poor people, to do the transactions. Are the banks ready to move towards cash flow lending or program lending to provide access to small farmers or SMEs? This is now the challenge for the industry players. Diminishing musharaka, in my view, is a very powerful instrument for promoting housing finance. Why is it that the existing Islamic banks and branches have not made use of this instrument at a wider scale? Mortgage finance still today forms a minuscule part of their portfolio. I don't want to get into the climate finance because Yusuf has already pointed out this. But my concern is, are the Islamic financial industry staff equipped to manage risks arising from the climate finance? Now the government has really accelerated the issuance of sukuks, and I think they will continue to do so in the future. But do we have the volume of assets which underlie the sukuks for converting almost 43 trillion rupees of the outstanding PIBs and T-bills? And is deficit financing by the government an acceptable proposition under the Islamic finance? Is the Islamic banking industry going to take the place of the conventional banks in financing the deficits of the government rather than investing in productive sectors of the economy, helping the productivity in agriculture, bringing up new industries that the country needs, create employment opportunities in the services sector and in the education, health sectors? What about international banking relationships? Are these going to remain intact, or are they going to undergo some metamorphosis under the new system? Do we understand that the changes that have to take place to stay part of the international system without disrupting the existing relationships? Has anybody thought about this? How do we remain part of the international financial system, because that is our prerogative to do things for the betterment of the country. You cannot be an insular economy, inward looking. You have to participate in international trade and flows. But will the Islamic financial system will allow us to do this, or we have to make some changes? Now, this point has been raised so many times, so I will be very brief. Have we considered that the talent which is working now in 80% of the conventional banking would be ready to become a true Islamic banking professional in 3 years' time? Do we have qualified trainers who are well conversant both with the Islamic jurisprudence and modern banking, who would be able to work on these 80% conventional banking staff to make them Islamic banking? Will they change their mindset? Because to me, it is the mindset of Islamic banking, and I congratulate the existing Islamic banks because they have done a great job in transforming the mindset of the staff, which is different from the conventional banks. What about the Sharia scholars? Is there an adequate supply or pipeline of Sharia scholars who would be able to form the Sharia boards for 24 banks which will be converted into the Islamic banks? The country as you know, has a huge challenge in our human development. 25 million of our children are out of school. Literacy rate is 60% only. Learning poverty is rampant. Stunting of children is 40%. Infant and mortality rates are high. It's a commercial Islamic financial industry. Have they thought of working, or they have the plans to work with the fintechs, with Islamic microfinance, with the charity, with philanthropy, with zakat, with sadaqah, with qarz hasna, with the waqf to tackle these challenges? Have they piloted any blended financing operation that can be subsequently scaled up throughout the country to make an impact? We all have been talking about quite for some time for this blending, but I haven't seen a ground evidence. I go all over the country, but I haven't seen any evidence that blended financing is helping solve these problems which I have pointed out to you. I do appreciate the trust of the Islamic banks using the penalty and fines for qarz hasna and scholarships for deserving poor students, but this has been on a sporadic but not a systematic basis, on a collective basis. Is it permissible to use these funds for research and development? Because we need computers and science labs and equipment and materials and reagents, because if we have to make progress in the 21st century, we have to invest in research and development. Can these funds be earmarked for research and development? I don't know, but I'm proposing a question for the Sharia scholars. I have taken the liberty of using this August gathering of senior government officials, industry executives, academics, and leading businessmen to raise these daunting issues. I hope that you would at least begin to reflect upon this and take immediate actions, because January 2028 is not far off. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in inviting our chief guest, Mr. Salimullah, Deputy Governor of the State Bank of Pakistan, to the stage. Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Very respectable Dr. Ishrat, my and many others mentor, Dr. Bashir Jan Muhammad Sahab, Talib Kareem Sahab, my dear friends Yusuf Sahab, Amir Sahab, and Rizwan Sahab, and other colleagues. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's very difficult to speak after the legends Dr. Ishrat, and the very pertinent questions both Dr. Ishrat and Dr. Bashir Jan Muhammad has raised. So, yes, these are real gigantic tasks. This transformation that we are pursuing, both based on the directives of the Shariat Court 2 years back, and now with the amendment in the Constitution, it's a very gigantic task. And all stakeholders, be it the government, be it the regulatory bodies, including the State Bank, SECP and others, the banking community, the financial sector, the business sector, they will all have to work together in a collaborative manner to achieve this gigantic task. And for that to achieve, first and foremost thing is that let's first have that belief that yes, the system that we are going to transform and the system we are aiming to achieve is something of value. The kind of questions we have been witnessing is the result of our sort of a disbelief. We are not that sure. We are still tentative. We may be or may not be able to achieve these objectives. So that belief will have to be there. By now, in the last 3 decades, not only in Pakistan, but across the globe, the focus has been that let's give a Sharia alternative of the conventional products. All our energies have been diverted towards this very focus. Have we tried to come up with a value proposition that is something based on the very objectives of all these prescriptions given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A very pertinent ayah recited in the beginning. وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. So, have we tried to achieve the real objectives of this? We have not tried to do that so far. But right now, to me, although there are very pertinent issues and challenges as narrated by Dr. Ishrat Saab as well as by Dr. Bashir Saab, but one silver lining which I can see, that when you have these constitutional requirements, then the whole ecosystem has to transform and has to contribute in the achievement of that very goal. So that gives me some silver lining and some hope that we will be able to develop that ecosystem where we can achieve the objectives of a true Islamic economic system. I won't say the banking system. Banking system is just a component of the economic system. So we'll have to see in terms of the economic system, if we can have such a fair, just, transparent and caring economic system that is carrying value for all the stakeholders, the society as at large, the system that is ensuring broad-based prosperity. That sort of a system, you see that it's not just that we are able to eliminate this riba by resorting to these trade-based modes of financing of muraba and some other modes. I'm not undermining the importance of this. Yes, that they have made their own contribution. But the real essence will come when we will focus our efforts in achieving the true objectives of the Islamic economic system, and the system that is fairer, that is just, and that is enabling all the stakeholders to improve their living standards, their income levels, their overall life in the society. So that is a big gigantic task, and we will all have to work towards achievement of that goal. This event is also being organized at a very pertinent moment, that at the same time we would see that there is a COP 29 being held in Baku, and there the world leaders are just gathered there to see that how can we discipline ourselves, because the kind of environment we are witnessing, it is the indiscipline that we have exercised in our overall approach towards development. And particularly the developed world, let me say this. They are the preachers of very high standards of ethics and transparency and governance. But what they have done to the environment, just to build their industrial might, they have ruined the overall world ecosystem and the world overall environment. It is the cost of that ill-discipline and that irresponsible development that has been that we have witnessed in so many decades. I would say in the last century, so that we have reached to this point. And the the environmentalists and the environmental scientists, they have been warning us that we are heading towards a disaster, but nobody was listening. And now everybody was accepting that this is an existential risk. And this Islamic finance, by its very nature, it's an ethical finance. It cannot allow to indulge in such partnerships with such businesses that is damaging the environment. So, the kind of realization that the world has just made now, it was available to in our principles centuries back, but we didn't give value to those systems. And one last thing that I would like to emphasize, that we have to take this inferiority complex out of us. The inferiority complex is that probably the conventional economic system is the supreme, and that's why we are trying to mold the Islamic economic system in a way that it fits into the conventional scale or a circle. So that inferiority complex has to be taken out, and this conference, let me say this provides an excellent opportunity. Let's ponder about in our panel discussions, in our debates. Let's see that how can we come up with the answers to these questions that are being raised. And these questions are being raised by very sincere people. So unless we have that conviction and that faith that we have to create and develop a system that is fair, that is just, that is equitable, and that is taking care of the environment as well, then probably all these forums will not be producing that much of value. So we must have that focus, and let's see that how can we come up with the answers to these questions, and can we give to the world a system that people say that this is whatever faith they are having, they could compel to say that I am getting a better value from this system. If my system is providing a better value, then whatever be your faith, people will be opting for it and adopting for it. I hope that the conference deliberations will be directed in that way, that we develop answers to these questions and come up with such recommendations which guide us towards answering these questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank Professor Ehsan Iqbal Chaudhry, Minister for Planning, Development and Special Initiatives, Government of Pakistan. He tried his best to attend. He committed and he wanted to withstand with his commitment, but unfortunately he felt very ill. He even committed to, he tried to connect with us online, but that just couldn't materialize because of his ill health. Please join me in showing our gratitude and also wishing him a speedy recovery.